Well, welcome to our team call tonight. And I'm excited to just kind of switch it up a little bit. And over the next, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, we're going to cover this book by Presley Swaggerty. It's called Be, Do, and Have More. And if you haven't read this before, I suggest getting it. You can get it off of his website. It's really, really good. In fact, most of you have probably read Millionaire by Halftime. He wrote this book before he wrote Millionaire by Halftime. So this was kind of like one of his original book, his first book. So I'm going to mute everybody except for myself. Okay. So anyway, a little bit about his story. No, I won't get into it a lot, but he's from Texas, and he is now a very successful network marketer. But he started off as a coach, actually. Like, he went to college in Texas, and he coached for years. And he shares a story about one day just at work, he forgot to pack a lunch, I think, and wanted to eat in the cafeteria. And it literally was $2 for him to eat in the cafeteria. And he did not have $2 in his wallet. And he went out to his truck and was digging through the ashtray for coins and scraped up $2, and said that was kind of the defining moment for him, where he was like, I cannot continue to live my life this way, like just getting by. I had a degree, a college degree. He was a very successful coach, very well respected and good, but was just kind of struggling, honestly, to get by. And so that kind of inspired him to go on this journey of self-discovery and self-growth, which eventually led him to network marketing. But what I love about this book is, he talks about how a lot of times, we talk a lot about wanting to be successful, and we can sometimes paint that picture in our mind, what that means or looks like to us. But there's really two reasons why we haven't gone for it yet. And the first reason could be either we don't know how, or the second reason would be we know how, but we just don't get up off the couch. Basically, we just don't make ourselves put the know-how into practice. And so he titles this book Be, Do, and Have More, because he says a lot of times people think they want to have more, they want to have success, and they think that they kind of have the formula backwards. They think if they have success, once they have whatever it is they want, financial freedom or the ability to quit their job or whatever, they will do more things because they'll have more money. So they'll be able to do more successful type things. And so they'll become a more successful person. And really, he says it's the other way around. You have to start with yourself. You have to start with the be more, which just means becoming a better version of yourself. And that opens up you to doing more. You become the person who acts upon the person you're becoming, and you kind of look for ways to find success. And then you end up having more, in life. So and the other thing too, and I'll cut over to our PowerPoint, but and I think this is important for us, because when we hear success, especially in Plexus, I think so many times we attach success to a specific rank or to whatever our next goal rank is. Like if it's gold, senior gold, ruby, emerald, whatever, we might tell ourselves, I will be successful when I am gold, or when I am senior gold or emerald. And those are good goals to have, but really refocusing and reshifting your definition of success. And instead, and I'm just going to read, this is what he says success is to him. Success is being right with God. Success is being happy with who you are. Success is having a great family life. It's getting along with others. Success is being the best person you can possibly be and maximizing the talents that God has given you. Success means achieving the goals and dreams that you have for your life and becoming someone you can be proud of, someone who is making a difference in the lives of others and leaving a legacy that inspires others to greatness. And I love that, because that really is what success is, And so if you find yourself getting discouraged and feeling unsuccessful in Plexus, look at what is your definition of success, and maybe that definition needs to change a little bit, because if you're on a path to self-growth and becoming the best you that you were created to be, that's successful. That's being successful. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love this book so much, because he starts off talking about just becoming a better version of yourself. So let me pull up my PowerPoint here. And like I said, this is just kind of informal. I just threw up some things on here that to kind of remind me of things I wanted to say. And this by no means covers everything in all of the chapters, but he first starts off talking about, he divides the book into the have, and the be, the do, and the have. So probably this week and maybe next week, we'll focus on the chapters that cover be more, so becoming more. And so he opens up talking about the idea of mind food. And this quote I love: "A man is literally what he thinks." And so, it's easy when you think about like the food that you feed your body, especially if you're someone who, works out, or maybe you've trained or are training for some sort of competition or athletic event, like a race or a marathon or something. And we all know, consuming really healthy food is what you need to do to get your body to perform at its peak, to get your body to be sharp, alert, and peak performance. So our mind is really no different. We are feeding our mind things all day long. We're just not really aware of it. But what we feed our brains, what things we allow to enter in our mind, the things we dwell on, it affects the way we view our world, and it affects the way that we behave, honestly. So he talks about this mind food being things like your environment, how you're conditioned, the people that you spend time with, the TV shows that you watch, the books that you read, the internet websites that you visit, that you go to. All sorts of things are feeding your mind on a conscious and a subconscious level all day long. So the things that you allow to come into your mind, they are going to determine your attitudes, your habits, your personality, and ultimately your level of success. And that's this quote right here by Gandhi: "Man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes." So our thought life is like that self-fulfilling prophecy. And I know we've talked a lot about mindset before, so this isn't really anything new. It's just kind of a reminder for a lot of us. So he kind of gives this idea of protecting your brain. If you know that you need to be mindful of the food that you're feeding your brain, you really need to be mindful and pay close attention to the things that you allow to come into your mind that are counterproductive to your dreams and to your goals. And he talks about like our brain kind of being like a glass of water, like a clean, purified, water, a clean glass of water. And that our job is really to keep that glass as pure as possible, as clean as possible. What happens is our surroundings a lot of the time are very, very negative, and some of that is out of our control. I mean, it's really hard to turn on the TV and get anything positive, these days. But all that negativity, we get so desensitized to it. But it's like the dripping of a faucet that's like leaking sewage water into your clean cup. And so the idea that if you read a good self-development book, that is good. But reading one book or listening to like one TED Talk or one training video, although good, it's not enough to keep that glass of water purified and cleaned. You have to do it continually. And I thought this was kind of funny quote here. People often say motivation doesn't last, but neither does bathing. And that's why we recommend doing it daily. So you have to find a way to keep yourself motivated daily, because it doesn't last, because we are constantly surrounded by an environment of not just negativity, but things beyond our control too. And if you think about it with Plexus, negative things are going to happen in our Plexus business. Like that is just part of it. Customers are going to come, they're going to go, people are going to join your team, they're going to leave your team. Negative things will happen that are beyond. We should always be doing all that we can, but sometimes it's beyond us. It's beyond our control. So continuing to motivate yourself and keep yourself engaged and motivated daily is super, super important. So, okay, let's move on to this next one. Oh, again, just controlling your environment, a little bit more on that. Your environment, how you see your environment dictates your thoughts. And if your environment dictates your thoughts, ultimately it's going to affect you on all levels, of your life. So it is really critical that you take control of your environment. And he's shared this before. I think maybe it's in his other book, but and I've heard it in some of John Maxwell's stuff, but it's that idea that you are the average of your 5 best friends. Some of you may have heard this before. So like if you are, and it pertains to all sorts of things. So one thing I've heard it say is like your income tends to be the average of the income of your 5 best friends. Okay. But beyond the income, I mean, it can be, your attitude is the average of the attitude of your 5 best friends. Your level of personal growth is going to be the average of the level of personal growth of your 5 best friends. So, kind of trying to take stock of who you're spending your time with. If they're negative, if most of your friends in your life are negative, it's going to be very, very hard for you to stay positive. It's going to be almost next to impossible. If your 5 close friends tend to live in the past or they dwell on failures, it's going to be really hard for you to move beyond your own failures and to move towards, the successful things that you're wanting in life. So just kind of always being mindful of those relationships that you keep. It's that whole like friends of a feather flock together. I mean, you want to just be mindful of the people that you've got in your inner circle. Okay, so more on this change your thinking idea. If you change your thoughts, you can change your world. And, when you hear people say change your thinking, like that's really easy to say. It's really hard to do. And most of the time it's because we just as people don't slow down long enough to really like analyze our thinking and pay attention to it, to maybe the thought patterns we have that are self-defeating or negative. I like this quote too that John Maxwell says, that he shares about, that John Maxwell says, which is most people want their lives to keep improving, yet they value peace and stability at the same time. And that's kind of a human nature thing, I think. Like we as humans tend to resist change. We don't really like it. Some of us more than others, some really value stability and peace. And I see this a lot in, people who want to try the Plexus products, but like it's a change. It's hard. Change is hard. And so there is something to be said, even when you don't like where you're at, it's your comfort zone. You're comfortable with it. But change and growth, like they go hand in hand. You cannot grow and stay the same. It just does not work. So if you want to grow, if you want more possibilities in your life or in your business, you have to kind of embrace this idea of growing and changing and letting that just be part of who you are. And you also have to embrace this idea of challenging your thinking, getting to know those thought processes. And again, this kind of goes back to like the mindset stuff we've visited about before, but those thought patterns, those thought processes we have, a lot of the time, we don't even really know how a lot of those beliefs get into our head. It's a lot of like how we were raised or the messages we heard as kids, maybe the messages we heard in our environment, our society, our networks, whatever, that become internalized and kind of turn into beliefs for us, so much so that we don't even recognize those thought processes happening. They're just kind of an automatic deal. So, and we're not going to get into all of this, but you can find a lot of stuff on this whole idea of mindset and how to start really delving into some of the negative thinking patterns that you've got and changing those. And that's really, really key to becoming a person of growth and a person of success. You have to analyze your thinking and overcome some of those things, those ruts that you've gotten into. And then, another point he makes, just a couple more points out of this first chapter of his, is to be a lifelong learner. And just the idea that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. And, he shares that personal growth is really the starting point of success. And all the successful people that he's talked to and interviewed, all of them have in common the fact that they have a commitment to lifelong learning. They have a lot of knowledge, but they're not satisfied with it. It's like they're always wanting to learn more and take in more information, and read. He kind of goes back to this idea of reading good books, listening to books on tape, attending seminars, talking to successful people, reading autobiographies of successful people, committing yourself to being a lifelong learner. And those of you, I think everyone on this call is doing our IPA 30-day challenge. That's why, training yourself, letting that become part of your IPA, whether it's reading a book or reading or watching a training or listening to a TED Talk, maybe not even about plexus, but just about positivity or, whatever it is that you feel like you need extra help with, work that into part of your IPA. Let that become something that you do and that you give to your business every day. And just to kind of end this idea of mind food, he, going and just like leading in what I was just saying about IPA, what a doable thing is saying part of my IPA every day is I'm going to read 5 to 10 pages in this book every day. And I know that might not sound like a lot, but a lot of people tend to get really overwhelmed by like reading a whole entire book. I mean, I love to read, so it doesn't overwhelm me, but that's not everybody does. This is a practice that if you're not in the habit of reading, you have to kind of develop this into a practice. And so 5 to 10 pages a day is a really doable bite-size, thing, a goal that you can accomplish. And if you do that every day for a year, you read 10 pages, you'll have read 3,650 pages in that year, which is probably roughly equal to about 1 to 2 dozen books. And that is life-changing. That kind of knowledge can change, begin to really change your life in a year's time. And then also the idea of audiobooks. Again, I know we've talked about this before, but just listening to books in your car as you're driving. Podcasts are great. Checking out books on tape from the library, whatever, but taking advantage of those pockets of time that you've got, maybe in, carpool line or whatever it may be, and really trying to just become a lifelong learner for, network marketing, personal growth, whatever it is, but just getting books like that in front of you every day. So that was kind of his idea on mind food. And then he led into this talking more about a winning attitude, and he kind of calls this the difference maker, this positive thinking and a winning attitude. Pessimism leads to weakness, but optimism leads to power. And he kind of compares and contrasts, and I've got a graphic I'll pull up, winners versus losers, and how the winners really understand that becoming successful is a process, and it's something that happens in small steps over time, and it's not an immediate like night and day type thing. So let me pull up this winners versus losers thing here. Did I freeze? Can you guys see me? I can't. Hey guys, sorry about that. Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. Let me share this again. Okay, so he compares and contrasts winners versus losers. And, he says that winners have this mindset that becoming successful is a process that takes place in small incremental steps over time. So it's not an overnight kind of a deal. So I won't read through all of these, but basically just kind of looking at these, identify for yourself which side of the line you tend to fall on. Do you fall on the winning side, that winning mindset, Or do you tend to have more of you're not a loser, but like a losing mindset, a couple that jumped out to me. Winners believe I create my life. I am in control of creating the life that I want. Whereas losers believe life happens to me. I take what's thrown my way and I deal with it. Life happens to them. So there's that difference of like acting and making those things happen, the things that you want, creating that destiny for yourself. I really loved that one. And then another one that I loved was just that winners are bigger than their problems. So they don't avoid problems. They don't run from them, but they know, I'm bigger than this. Like I will overcome this no matter what problem I face, no matter what obstacle comes my way. It's okay. I'm bigger than this. I will overcome this. Whereas losers problems get the best of them. They're smaller than their problems and they focus on those obstacles. And it can be the thing that actually, when you're talking about plexus, those problems can be the thing that cause them to basically turn and walk away. When the downs happen, we've got the ups and it's really easy to be positive and feel like a winner, when things are going good. But when you're in the valley or you're kind of at a standstill or a bit of a plateau, that's an obstacle. So you got to look at, how am I mentally approaching this obstacle? What am I telling myself? What attitude am I using to approach this? So anyway, I just love this. This was just a chart that he had in his book, and I can flip back to it. Let me just see. Oh, okay. One thing I loved is your attitude. And I know that we all know this, but our attitude, the attitude that we have, it really does affect the way we perceive our world. It affects the things that we see. It affects the way that we see those things. It affects our interpretation of events happening around us. And I don't know the context with this next quote that I included, but basically, I'm going to find this page. Okay. So it's about this like great American naturalist who is visiting with this woman. They were walking through this large orchard, and the woman kept complaining that no birds ever visited her orchard. Okay. So she was just complaining. I never see any birds. But as they're talking, the guy she's walking with, the naturalist guy, looks around. He's counting like dozens of birds. Okay. And finally, when she stops long enough, she stops complaining. He says, you have to first have birds in your heart before you can find them in the bushes. And I love that because it's all about our attitude. If you're not expecting to see birds, you're not going to see the birds. If you're not expecting to see success and have success, you're not going to find it. If you don't expect anyone to become a customer, you're not going to find those customers. If you don't expect anyone to join your team, no one's going to join your team. So you have to have those birds in your heart before you can see them in the bushes. And that was really a powerful thing to me for whatever reason. So anyway, okay, let's talk a little bit about deciding to have a winning attitude. Like I said, it's really easy to say that. It's a daily practice. It's something you have to be aware of every day in order to kind of work yourself through that, maybe that pessimism or that negativity. Hey, we've all been there. We all deal with that from time to time. But the only person that can be responsible for that is you. The only person who can change that is you, not your upline, not your downline, not your sidelines. It's you, honestly. And he shared just 3 really quick things, the fundamentals, he called them, of a winning attitude. And the first one was to be excited, to have that enthusiasm. And really, a lot of people walk through life without this excitement and without enthusiasm. So just make that decision to always be excited about your life, about your business, about whatever it is that you're doing. It's magnetic. I think that excitement's contagious. People want to be around someone who is enthused about life, and happy and joyful. So make the choice every day to be excited about something, find something to be excited about. Number 2 is to stop making excuses. I know we've heard this before. You can make excuses or you can make money, but you can't make both. Okay, so you can either make your excuses or you can make money, but you can't make both. So that attitude of, yeah, but, getting that kind of vocabulary out of the words that you say, again, obstacles will happen, problems will come your way. Give up the excuses. Don't play the victim story. Don't give reasons why this won't work or why you can't do this. Instead of saying, I can't do it, say, how can I do this? Or instead of saying, I can't afford it, it's impossible, ask yourself, how can I afford this? How is this possible? How can I make this possible? Just that little tweaking of the wording can make all of the difference. And then the third thing is to make a commitment. So, getting rid of that exit strategy is going to kind of like, there's no other option here. I am going to win. I am going to be successful because I have taken out my exit door. There is no exit door. I am not leaving. I have committed to this. If you do have that commitment that, no matter what, I will win at this, I will achieve my goal, you're going to have a totally different outlook on your business. If you say, if it happens, it happens. I mean, that's not really going to get you fired up in the mornings. That's not going to be lighting the fire under you. If you say, no matter what, I am in this, I will win, that's going to be the thing that lights the fire under you. So, winners take responsibility for winning and for the commitment. They don't leave it to anybody else. They don't make excuses. They stay in it and they stay committed. So the last few things, and then we'll wrap up. If you guys have any questions, we can shoot some questions out. But he talks about another component to becoming more is to identify your comfort zone and push yourself through that comfort zone, push yourself out of that comfort zone. Our comfort zone is really just an artificial boundary, a mental boundary, basically, where we like to stay because it feels really cozy, it's really comfortable. 90% of the population stays in their comfort zone their entire life, okay? And it, like I said, it's comfortable. You don't experience a lot of discomfort when you're in your comfort zone. You're going with the flow. The status quo is staying the same. You're not rocking the boat. But, he says, think of your comfort zone as a prison, that you live in. And it's largely self-created by yourself, but it consists of all these negative thoughts and decisions that maybe you replay in your mind or that just kind of get reinforced throughout your lifetime as to why you can't break through that comfort zone, why you can't go, on the other side of it. So to maximize your performance, he talks about getting yourself to a place where you operate with this optimal anxiety. So I think anxiety is something that for the most part, we work really hard to avoid feeling that way because it doesn't feel very good. But if you don't have optimal anxiety, if you're not getting sweaty palms, nervous stomach, that's because you're not about to do anything new. You feel that way when you're about to encounter or embark on something that you've never done before. And those new experiences are the things that are going to grow you. And they're scary at first, but then after you do it once, they're not so scary. So that's kind of what his idea of this optimal anxiety. It's just outside of your comfort zone is where you find this level of anxiety. And it's where, honestly, you are going to perform at your peak. You're kind of your mental productivity is going to be on point. You're going to be at your peak because you're pushing yourself to that next level and to do some kind of goal or something that you've never done before. So I loved this little diagram that he has in his book. I just recreated it. All those awesome things that live outside of your comfort zone. Chris McCool said one time, I thought it was hilarious. He said, your comfort zone is where dreams go to die. I'm like, it's kind of true. You know how funny he is. And it was just really funny, but it's true because look at the things inside the comfort zone. It's that you're settling, you know, you're tired, you're just getting by, you're surviving. You ask yourself, but what if I can't do that thing I've always wanted to do? What if I can't? Once you step out of that and you break through that comfort zone, you start to say, well, what if I can't? Or what's holding me back? You know, the sky is the limit. This is exciting. You know, your confidence builds. You start to get that passion back. You're not just surviving anymore. You're living a life of passion and excitement and fearlessness. And so I love that. That, you know, our tendency is we want to stay in that comfort zone. And a story he shared that, and I think I've got it. Yeah. A story that he shared that is, it's not really a story, but he talks about this idea of the elephant trainer. And he talks about this baby elephant who from birth, the baby elephant is taught to stay in a certain place. Okay. The way that they do that is they take the baby's elephant's leg and they take a rope and they tie the rope to his leg and to a wooden stake. Okay. At this stage, the baby elephant, he's not strong enough to break through that rope. And so he tries, but he quickly learns, okay, got it. I am not strong enough to break this rope. I will stay close to this wooden post. I won't go any farther than where this rope allows me to go. He gets conditioned, okay? And that's his comfort zone. He learns that's what he's supposed to do. But the deal is that elephant grows and he gets huge. And at some point he gets so big, clearly he can break through that rope. He could just, with one swing of his foot, bust through the rope. But he never even tries because he doesn't know that he is strong enough now to break that rope and leave his comfort zone. And that's how they condition huge elephants, you know, to stay confined by a small, teeny, tiny rope. That's the way they do it. They do it from a young age. And so that is exactly like our comfort zones. We all have probably some small rope. In our mind, it's big. In reality, it's small. That keeps us in our comfort zone. It keeps us like a slave to those limiting beliefs and false statements that we tell ourselves. And it keeps us from taking risks and from becoming greater versions of ourselves. So just challenge yourself to kind of identify ways that you're staying in your comfort zone in your business, in life, whatever, and begin pushing yourself out of that. Okay, so what is the secret to escaping this zone? Well, one of the things he talks about is what we always talk about in Plexus, your why, okay? Your dreams, your reason, your why. That's why we talk about it so much, about finding a why that makes you cry. I know it's such a cheesy line, but it's so true. It has to be powerful enough to inspire you, because when your vision is big enough and when it inspires you enough, you will pay the price. And by the price, I mean, you will risk being a little uncomfortable. You will risk stepping out of your comfort zone. Okay, there, I'm back. Sorry, I froze for a second. When your vision is big enough, your why is big enough, you'll pay the price and you will risk whatever you have to. You'll step through all the comfort zones. You'll break all the ropes because it will matter that much to you. It will be that important to you. So stay connected to your why. Those of you on this call, you guys are all leaders. Make sure you help your team stay connected to their why, because there's going to be a lot of comfort zones that you're going to have to help them break through. And this is going to be one of the biggest ways that you're going to do that for them. Okay, another key, a secret to escaping this zone is to remove the time element. Okay, so we talk about this a lot when somebody joins and we're like, don't wait, start now. You know, don't wait to work this business, do it now. A lot of times the anticipation, the buildup becomes so much scarier than the act itself. Okay, so don't let time get the best of you. And what I mean by that is don't let the anticipation build to be so big that you've now worked up that thing has become like so much more gigantic than it even needs to be. Doing things outside of your comfort zone is going to bring an element of fear. Do it afraid, do it anyway, just do it, just act and don't wait. And again, as a leader, encourage your team to not wait. Don't let time get the best of them, because I promise you it does. And I want to say something too, like right now we're doing our 30-day challenge group. I think we've all felt, the swing of how you can swing in and out of momentum with your business, in and out of your IPA. Okay, this applies to that too. Don't let too much time go by. Once you identify, this is the problem. I've allowed myself to get out of this activity, whatever it is. Okay, fine. Act now. Change it now. Don't let too much time go by where it gets the best of you and you anticipate, oh gosh, how will I get back in the swing of it now? Oh, I could never get back to where I was. You spend all this time, we fret over it instead of just doing it. Don't let time get the best of you and make you buy into that. Start creating those negative thought patterns, because it's all false. Just act now. Okay, the next secret to escaping this zone is examine the choices that you're making now. Are you playing it safe? Are you taking risks? In what ways could you take a little bit more risks? Is it someone that you want to message or call up on the phone and talk Plexus? Do it. Is it you've been saying you want to host an event but you haven't? Do it. Don't play it safe. Look at the choices that you're making and examine them. And if you're playing it safe, push yourself, to just stop doing that, to take that risk. Everything that you want, and this isn't just in Plexus, in life too, I believe, everything that you want is just outside of your comfort zone. So don't, and this is kind of how he ends this little chapter, is not to waste your life being bored and playing it safe, but to really push yourself and take it to the limits and become more, because everything that you want, all these new experiences, these new opportunities for growth, they all lay just outside of your comfort zone. So you really do, it's that important to start challenging yourself and doing some things that you haven't done before in life and in Plexus too. So that kind of wraps up all of my notes that I had. Let me stop this share really fast. That I had for those few chapters. I'm going to stop our recording and we can just chat for a little bit. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. But next week we'll cover, there's a couple more chapters that are still in this section of the Be More, and we'll talk about that. And then we'll go on to the next section. But thanks you guys for joining our call tonight, and we'll see you guys all next week.